What is up, guys? It is AJ, and there is some massive news in the fight game. Tyson Fury versus Francis Ngannou is official under boxing rules. It takes place October 28th in Saudi Arabia. I'm actually really excited to see this fight. I'm a fan of both guys. Obviously, I love Tyson Fury in the boxing ring, and it's always great to see Ngannou fight in the cage. Really interesting to see a heavyweight MMA champion. Obviously now John Jones is the UFC champ since Ngannou vacated, but still arguably the baddest man on the planet, step in the boxing ring to fight the best heavyweight boxer in the world and one of the trickiest styles of heavyweight boxing ever in the whole sport's history. I think about this with Francis Ngannou. This is a guy who decided to go to war with the UFC, and he won. So on today's video, what I'm going to talk about is guessing how much money Francis Ngannou is going to make. I have some stats from previous Tyson Fury opponents that I think are going to lead us to a number. I'm also going to talk about the matchup and how I think it's going to go. I'll give you guys my early prediction for it. So make sure you guys smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And let's talk about revenue, because the amount of money that this fight is going to bring in, and holy hell, the amount of money Francis Ngannou is going to make is scary. So I dug in a little bit to what recent opponents of Tyson Fury made. Let's talk about Derek Chisora, last time out. Chisora, pretty decent boxer, not the name of a Francis Ngannou. He made $4.5 million to fight Tyson Fury. Opponent that also made a killing in recent was Dillian Whyte. It was 2 opponents ago. He made $7.4 million to fight Tyson Fury. So you're thinking, okay, Ngannou, maybe he's going to make $7-8 million. I don't think so. I think it's going to be much larger than that. Deontay Wilder in the trilogy made $20 million. I feel like Ngannou's paycheck for this fight is going to range in that 12 to 16 million zone. Yeah, I'll say it again, 12 to 16 million. He could never make that in MMA. They're not going to pay him like that. The biggest UFC heavyweight contract ever, it doesn't even close to stack up. And that's not for 3-4 fights. This is a one-fight deal. He's going to make 12 to 16 million dollars. Ngannou got the bag here. He went to war with the UFC and he won. He decided, no, I'm going to ignore the naysayers. I'm going to leave the promotion and go test my value elsewhere. PFL picks him up, and they're grateful to have him, and they're allowing him to do boxing too, which I think is incredible. It makes so much sense to me. Ngannou always talked about boxing. The UFC was so anti him doing boxing. Dana White, for whatever reason, obviously maybe some background stuff that none of us know, has a serious vendetta against Francis, because I think him not allowing Francis to box Tyson Fury, it's fucked. It's shit. I mean, if I think about it logically from Dana's perspective, I guess, do I want my heavyweight champion losing a boxing match? But then I look at it from the perspective of Francis Ngannou, the fighter, to allow him to become a multi-millionaire. I guess the big business side can't allow that. And that's why the UFC and him went to war. And that's why he left the promotion. And PFL, not nearly the powerhouse promotion of the UFC, was like, please come here, fight for us. We will let you box whoever you want. So I'm grateful that he went to PFL. I think it was the right move, because Dana White was not looking out for Francis Ngannou's best interest. You got to remember that. Dana White was purely concerned, and the UFC as a whole was purely concerned about the best interest of the promotion. Now, can I blame them for that? No. It's unfortunate that their heavyweight champion was never really treated with the utmost of love, but that's better off. Leave and make your killing, because Ngannou is pulling in some crazy money. And I'll say this straight out. The outcome of this fight means nothing. Ngannou could go out there and get knocked out in the first round. It does not matter, because he is going to make more money in this one night than his entire combat sports career. But let's preview the matchup a little bit. First, let's look at some recent opponents for Francis Ngannou, and we'll talk about how his boxing looked in those fights. Now, his most recent fight, he took on Ciryl Gane. It was a fairly close matchup where he actually used his wrestling attack to control Ciryl. His boxing in that fight wasn't overly effective. I mean, Ciryl Gane's pretty rangy with his kicks and very hard to hit, and Ngannou also was having serious knee issues at the time. It's a win, and there's not much to really take away from the Ciryl Gane fight. But before that, He slept Stipe Miocic, who is considered to be a very good MMA boxer. He flatlined KO'd him. He showed tremendous power in his hands. He has a massive left hook. We know he has a dynamite uppercut. Any punch that he throws is top tier power. I would say Francis Ngannou is one of the hardest punchers in the history of fighting, maybe the hardest puncher. And then before that, this is now actually digging, a while back. He fought Jairzinho Rozenstruik and knocked him out in 20 seconds. I mean, he ran through the ringer of heavyweight, and there was a streak here where he's not going longer than a minute 15 seconds in any of his fights. He has that type of knockout power to sleep anybody with the 4-ounce gloves. Now, does it necessarily translate to the boxing ring against someone like Tyson Fury? We can speculate, and we will. But let's first talk about Tyson Fury's past couple. He gave Derek Chisora a pretty clean boxing lesson. I don't think anybody doubted that was going to happen. Dillian Whyte, before that, he knocks him out with a nice uppercut. He beat up Dillian Whyte for most of that fight. A pretty expected outcome. Prior to that, in 2021, it was the Deontay Wilder trilogy fight. It was the final one. And he beat Deontay Wilder in a back-and-forth war, one of those great heavyweight fights. And obviously, that's the fight I was talking about. Wilder made $20 million. I think Fury made $30 million for that fight. He's shown incredible toughness and ability to come back from big shots. So we know Fury's durability is kind of out of this world because it looked like he was flatline KO'd against Deontay Wilder in their first fight, and somehow his life just got pushed back in him and he gets back up to his feet, and nothing really made sense with that fight to this day. That's one of the freakiest moments in combat ever. So Dillian Whyte got destroyed, and Dillian Whyte's a pretty quality boxer, right? Derek Chisora got beaten up. He's a decent boxer. Ngannou has 0 professional boxing fights. And now he's asked to fight against Tyson Fury. That's a massive jump up in competition. Sure, Francis Ngannou's MMA boxing looks great, but I would be lying to you if I said I think he can outbox a Tyson Fury. I think you're going to notice a serious speed difference here, and the way that Tyson Fury is going to be stringing his punches together is going to just be so much more smooth than a Francis Ngannou. Ngannou has the real big one-shot knockout power, but it's definitely more MMA-based boxing, and it works extremely well inside of the cage, but that's not against pure Marcus of Queensberry rules fighters. I think Tyson Fury is going to give him a lesson in boxing. That's the honest truth here. They talked about they're going to get in the center and bang it out and just go to war. I don't necessarily think they're just going to go to war here. I feel like Tyson Fury, he's going to be smart. He's not going to leave his chin out for Ngannou to rip, because ultimately Francis Ngannou with one punch can KO anybody. So I'll give you guys my early prediction for the fight. It's going to be that Tyson Fury stops Francis Ngannou in the 8th round by TKO. I do think Ngannou starts slowing after the 6th, and it's not that he's not in shape, but it's just boxing cardio is a different game. Taking on Tyson Fury, I expect him to be getting hit with a lot of jabs, having a very hard time closing distance, looking amateuristic at moments. It wouldn't be crazy if in the 3rd round, Fury actually stops him. I could see Ngannou looking to explode inside and kind of leading with his head as opposed, to his legs, and his hands kind of just being there, and then boom, Fury catching him with a counter strike and absolutely buckling the legs out and KOing him. Fury is going to stop Francis Ngannou. It's not so much a matter of if, it's a matter of when, what round, how long does Ngannou last? Does Francis show, any good qualities that could potentially aid him in future boxing matches? Because I don't think this is a one-off thing. I believe Francis Ngannou is going to look to box again. And if he has any bit of success against Tyson Fury, the likelihood of him getting back in the boxing ring at a high level is much higher than if he goes out there and gets smoked in 2 rounds. I'll say that he goes 8 rounds. I'm going to pick Fury by TKO. But it does not matter. The result of this fight means nothing. Tyson Fury is a lifetime boxer and maybe the best heavyweight boxer we've ever seen skill-wise. Francis Ngannou is a really good, I'd say great MMA fighter with crazy knockout power. He did big things in the sport, and he's choosing to come over. And I got to say, we're blessed that we get to see a historic moment in the history of fighting, because we've never had this before. An MMA heavyweight champion taking on a boxing heavyweight champion, and it's going to be a marquee super fight. I love it. As far as Francis Ngannou losing the fight, I don't think that it's going to hurt his stock. And if for some of you, you think that it is going to hurt his stock, I'll tell you this. I don't think he gives a shit, because the amount of money he's going to make, like I said multiple times throughout the video, absolutely passes anything the UFC could ever even dream to offer him. He's making the bag and a half. I feel like if you look at Francis Ngannou, he is like a product of just unreal self-belief, man. He comes from poverty in Cameroon to the world stage, becoming a UFC champion, and now fighting the heavyweight boxing champion. He has unreal drive, and honestly, he shows if you have that vision for what you want out of life, and then you take the steps towards it, you can accomplish anything. And it's insane that Francis Ngannou is here, coming from nothing to now, I mean, the riches on riches on riches. I mean, I remember when he was on Mike Tyson's podcast about how he hadn't made that money like Tyson had made yet. Well, now he's getting that type of paycheck. This is going to be a massive event. I wonder who they're going to put on the undercard. Obviously, with boxing, a lot of the time, the undercards are like kind of subpar. I don't know. I have a feeling we'll see Badu Jack on the card, and I'd be grateful to see Jack on the card. A lot of you guys that are more MMA fans probably like, who the hell is Badu Jack? He's a pretty decent boxer, and I've watched him for a long time and always liked his style. But Ngannou has done it. He's getting the fight of fights. He's going to be a huge underdog here. I expect Fury to open at like minus 800. And I think he's going to look pretty dominant in the boxing match. And obviously, Dana White will be laughing at, Ngannou taking an L. He'll be happy to see him lose. But that doesn't matter. The result of this fight, I'll say it, I'll reiterate it, I don't know how many fucking times, but it doesn't matter. The result of this fight is not what it's about. It's the fact that Francis Ngannou now has the generational wealth that comes with high-level boxing from one fight. And I think Ngannou having the balls to say no to the UFC and go chase money elsewhere might give some other fighters that same feeling inside. Because ultimately, the UFC pays pretty well at the top, but boxing pays exceptionally well at the top. Like, you're living lavishly. You're making so much money. It's because the boxers have the power. And that's obviously the same reason why in boxing, people complain why they don't do the best versus the best. So you hear fans in MMA, we want more money for our fighters, but they definitely don't want to sacrifice good matchups. In boxing, it's, we want better matchups, but the pay is top tier. So you got to kind of pick your poison. Francis Ngannou, Tyson Fury, October 28th. Yes, I'm going to be tuned into it. I plan on doing a live stream for it, Fight Companion. Obviously, we'll talk about that as we get closer to it. Let me know in the comments what you guys think of this matchup. Are you a fan of Tyson Fury putting the boxing gloves on and stepping in the ring with Tyson Fury? Or do you think there's no point? You would have rather seen him fight Jon Jones? I'll be honest, a lot of you probably would have, and maybe even I would have rather have seen the Jon Jones fight, but for the bag he's collecting, you got to understand he's a man like all of us that wants the best for him and his family, and he's absolutely getting it here, and he doesn't lose any MMA stock with a loss. Let me know your prediction too. What do you guys think? Do you agree? 8th round knockout? I feel like some of you guys think Fury is going to smoke him in 2 rounds. I'm giving Francis maybe a little more credit than a lot of people will, or even maybe I'm giving him a little too much credit. We shall find out when they get inside of that ring in Saudi Arabia in the super fight. Guys, I hope you enjoyed. Smash the likes. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. And turn on those post notifications so you don't miss a video. Like I've been saying, dropping the heat with these news reaction videos. Here's another one for you guys. I appreciate you all. Shout out to a lot of the new subscribers that came in from the Dracus du Plessis versus Israel Adesanya news reaction fight early prediction video. Welcome to the channel. Thank you, everybody, for tuning into the show consistently. Plenty of content dropping all week, so keep your eyes peeled. And make sure, if you want to boost the algorithm for your boy, drop a W in the chat as well. Thank you all for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace, everybody.